School libraries typically lock up by 5 p.m., but during final exams, the administration kept the doors open until midnight. For students living nearby, this provided a rare window of focused, late-night study time in a space that was usually off-limits after dark. By 8 p.m., the last few groups of students usually pack up and head out. By 10 p.m., that remaining energy evaporates, leaving the library in a state of absolute silence. It's the kind of quiet where you lose track of everything but the page in front of you. That silence was broken by a sound that didn't belong in a carpeted library, the heavy, rhythmic thud of an uneven limp. When the usual social activity of a school is removed, the building changes. A familiar floor of books and desks suddenly feels like an isolated trap, where every sound is amplified and every exit feels too far away. The path out was narrow. You had to walk the length of this long corridor and make a sharp right turn. Halfway down, the student saw a woman standing at the end of the corridor, blocking the only route out. The closer they got, the more intense the unease became. The student finally called out to see who was there, but as soon as the words left their mouth, the figure was gone. In a hallway with no side exits, a person cannot simply walk out of sight in a few seconds. The suddenness of her disappearance left the student with the immediate, chilling realization that they were no longer dealing with a trespasser. Outside, the street was unnaturally empty. This is usually a high-traffic area where people are visible even late at night, yet the entire neighborhood seemed to have gone dormant all at once. The student began the walk home, moving from the school grounds into the surrounding grid of residential streets. Adrenaline and exhaustion were setting in. To keep from panicking, the student focused entirely on the ground, watching their own feet move as a way to ignore the emptiness around them. That's when a shadow appeared on the pavement, stretching out from an unseen source and reaching toward them. The shadow didn't pass by, it persisted. It followed the student's exact path through the neighborhood, suggesting that whatever had been in the library was now following them home. Looking up, the student saw the woman again. She was limping slowly in front of them, her feet dragging heavily across the asphalt. Her appearance was harrowing. Her clothes were tattered, her hair was a mess, and her hands and feet were twisted into shapes that looked physically impossible for a living person to maintain. The brain's response to this level of shock is often to simply shut down. Despite every instinct screaming to run, the student stood frozen, unable to move or speak as the woman approached. In a moment of pure desperation, the student pointed far away, trying to trick her into leaving. She followed the gesture, limping away into the distance until she vanished from sight, allowing the student to finally bolt. But the escape was cut short. From deep in the darkness, a scream tore through the air. "She is here!" The sound was so overwhelming it caused the student to black out on the spot. When fear reaches a certain threshold, the human mind gives up on rational processing. The system simply overloads, leaving the body unconscious on the ground. A neighbor eventually found the student passed out and brought them home. As the student recounted the night, the neighbor explained that these sightings weren't a new phenomenon in the area. Local accounts point back to the year 1998 and a 32-year-old woman named Agatha, whose presence has been recorded in stories across the neighborhood for decades. Agatha's daughter was a student at Eden Hill School until a fatal accident took her life. Agatha was never able to process the loss, and her grief became a permanent fixture of the local landscape. The neighbor's history suggests that the streets surrounding the school are marked by this specific, unresolved trauma, creating a cycle that repeats year after year. The details of the encounter, the limping, the twisted limbs, the tattered appearance, align with the historical descriptions of Agatha's decline. These aren't just scary traits, they are the physical manifestations of a person broken by loss. When we look at where these sightings occur, they form a clear patrol route. Agatha is seen in a constant loop, moving outward from the school where she last saw her daughter. The scream of "she is here" also takes on a different tone when viewed through Agatha's history. It is the sound of a mother who, in her confusion, thinks she has finally found the child she's been looking for since 1998. The figure on the road is a woman caught in a loop of eternal grief, searching the desolate streets for a daughter